well, recognize that there are differences and there are problems, close my eyes and hope that everything will pass by without problems. The other thing, the other choice we have is to ask someone to come in, a third party, a certifying body, to come in and certify good practices or certify the practices that we know about. And the third choice, and that's the choice we have taken, is to work directly. Go direct to the grower. So next time when I come here, I might visit him and we'll sit together and discuss what are the issues you face. And these issues, as I said, they are different from country to country, to situation to situation. This is not really the most easy approach, but I can, putting my hand to my heart and say I know most of our suppliers in those 80 different countries. I know what they struggle with, I know where they are. And to me that's a great, great stimulation. It's a great honor to know these people because they're fantastic people all over the world. What we also have used as a tool is to stimulate dialogue. Wherever we are, it's an element of dialogue between the stakeholders, whether it's a trade union or it's an environmental NGO or other NGOs, but also governments and labor union on national level and work or what do you call it, employers organization on national level. So this has been something we have put in system, and we work on this dialogue process, whether it's in Norway or in other parts of the world. And our experience is that when we start or use this mechanism of dialogue, it's a really powerful tool because it involves people that feels the issues locally, and they can be part of a process of change. Change doesn't happen like this. It may take years, tens of years, but as long as there is a will and a good faith to move in the right direction, that's what we require. We don't expect things to be totally perfect, a glossy picture, but if there is a mind and a heart willing to go in a direction, that's where we are. I will now try to get this going with a small video which shows one example, and it's only one example from Costa Rica. It's the next step from the stealing of a poster that you saw. Let's see if it works.
No, but you're disconnected now.
Again?
Yes. I'll find it in my phone now.
Her i Costa Rica, et av Latinamerikas mest velstående land, kjøper BAMA bananer og ananas. Det er det amerikanske selskapet Dole som eier de fleste plantasjene, og de har over lang tid blitt kritisert for uverdige arbeidsforhold og manglende respekt for retten til å organisere seg. Dette ønsker BAMA å gjøre noe med.
Vi kan ikke ha leverandører som bryter grunnleggende menneskerettigheter.
Til tross for at Costa Rica et fredelig land med en solid demokratisk kultur, hersker det en sterk motstand mot fagbevegelsen.
El despido o digamos no le dan trabajo familiar o si se afilia a un sindicato lo mandan a ganar salarios más bajos o ya no está muy bien recomendado con la gerencia de la empresa.
This comes back to 40 years when unions were very strong in Costa Rica. Things happened here, didn't work out. Some companies closed farms, some business were out of business. So they changed the model in Costa Rica. It wasn't Dole, it wasn't any company, it was the whole country.
Å endre denne tankegangen skulle vise seg å være en krevende oppgave, og dialogen mellom Dole og fagforeningen satt langt inne. BAMA ønsker å være en aktiv pådriver for etisk handel, og har gjentatte ganger vært i Costa Rica for å følge opp sin leverandør Dole.
Det første som skjedde da vi tok kontakt i 2005, var at daværende leder i Dole i Costa Rica var totalt avvisende til et samarbeid med fagforeningene. De ønsket overhodet ikke å ha denne dialogen.
I begynnelsen handlet det kun om å bygge tillit og få partene til å snakke sammen. Og det tok 2 år før en rammeavtale var på plass. Da avtalen ble signert i 2007, ble den betegnet som historisk. Men i 2009 gikk prosessen inn i en vanskelig fase.
Det stoppet helt opp, det var ingen utvikling videre, og det skapte en viss utålmodighet hos oss. Derfor sa vi klart fra at nå må dere komme i gang med en prosess, eller så må vi velge alternative innkjøpssteder.
BAMAs tydelige budskap fikk Dole til å innse alvoret. Og toppledelsen ga derfor et løfte om å rydde opp i situasjonen og få prosessen på skinner igjen. LO og Virke har gjennom prosessen fungert som rådgivere for fagforeningen og Dole, og har underveis vært viktige støttespillere for BAMA.
Den prosessorienteringen BAMA har, og at de ser problemene på de enkelte steder, og følger opp med ulike måter å angripe disse problemene på, tror jeg relativt unikt.
Det neste viktige skrittet å sørge for at mellomledelsen ute på plantasjene følger opp bestemmelsene i rammeavtalen.
Det fremdeles et stykke å gå, og det ikke bare LO eller Virke som skal stå bak og presse på. Dette skal bli forhåpentligvis en selvgående prosess i Costa Rica.
Esperamos que este convenio precisamente siga rindiendo los frutos esperados.
I believe during this process of following up agreements, we're moving ahead gradually. I mean, this takes time because we're changing culture here.
Det vil nok ikke gå lang tid før BAMA tilbake i Costa Rica. Målet klart, men fremtiden usikker.
Alors notre intervenant maintenant, c'est M. Rajae Tazi Sidqui. C'est l'entreprise s'appelle Terminal Tangier. Donc c'est une entreprise marocaine qui fait partie d'un groupe international et c'est la gestion des terminals. Ils sont localisés à Tangemed, le port de Tangemed.
Bonjour tout le monde. First of all, I want to just correct my name. My name is Mustafa Rashid. I'm from EPM Terminals. I would like to thank the fact inviting us for this opportunity and to talk also on behalf of EPM Terminals Tangier. I will start my presentation with this slide. It's a lot of things to see there. And before to go through the journey, as I chose a name for my presentation, it's CSR journey. Because for us, it's a journey, it's not just an action, it's not just one event, it's really a journey that we have started a few years ago. First of all, EPM Terminals is a transshipment terminal in Tanger Med. You know Tanger, so it's like 15 kilometers far from Tanger. And as said in one of the presentations just we saw now, when we have the company outside the city, then the opportunity of giving help to the rounding is much better. So this is exactly what happened. EPM Terminals Tangier is far from Tanger, so we had the opportunity to give help to the community. So the port infrastructure, sorry. What's wrong? Oh. Yeah. So the port infrastructure plays an important part. If we look to the society, we change geographically the city. And then we had the choice to find how we are going to go through this journey. This is why we aim to operate sustainably. By creating a shared value and long-term business success, which enable a positive economic social development, which will contribute on the healthy environment and stable society. This is how EPM Terminals choose to operate. I will share with you something wrong. Sorry, technology sometimes. Yeah. This is some actions happened everywhere in the world. And at EPM Terminals, we recognize that business cannot succeed if society fails. So therefore, we want to create a shared value that takes sorry, again. So I said we want to create a shared value that takes social, responsible decisions and translate them into meaningful actions. So we urge our facility to not only do good, but to evaluate their approach to donations and social investments on the impact. Those are pictures from different areas in the world where EPM Terminals has made some donations. This is Tangier, for example, donate on high visibility codes. This is in Egypt, SCT, where during the 10th anniversary announced the building of secondary school. This is in India, check for vision called a good eye. And here in Aqaba, a container terminal launches education campaign in aid of 500 students in 23 schools. So how to select what to invest? As I said, it's a journey, it's a strategy that EPM terminals put in place to help the local business to take the right decision. So the idea is two sections. What to support, there are 5 themes, and then how to prioritize and communicate the action. So first action is about first axle is about the 5 themes, key, and then the second action is about second pillar is about the planning, prioritizing, and communicate. For sake of the time, we're not going to talk about the planning and prioritization, but I will give a screenshot about the 5 themes that are implemented in the whole group, EPM terminals. So here we have the 5 keys. We focus on the socio-economic development, and there are examples of projects. Support health and safety in our surrounding communities, protect the nature environment, and then support education and training. Of course, without to forget disaster relief, because we are part of this work. The idea is to be effective where really is needed. So here, I was talking about EPM terminals in general. Now I will give you an example of what we have been doing since 2009-2010 in Tangier. Safety ring costs, this has become now one of every year actions. We just distribute ring costs. As I said, the terminal is far from the city, so we distribute ring costs every year to the schools around the terminal. We have made a room for a model room for English learning, and we have a beach near the terminal called Delia. Every year, we just supply this beach with the necessary stuff for people, for the society there to enjoy the summertime. This has become also something every year we do the same thing. Again, from 2010 to 2011, we have the opportunity to distribute some chairs for handicapped, and also an action about orphans house, hospital with donation of hygiene equipment. Those are EPMT employees. And from 2013 and 15, those are already done. We have ensured the transport for the schools around the terminal, transportation, because the transport was one of the reasons why we have not people or children not going to school. Also, as I said, distribute the visibility raincoat. And then we have, during Ramadan, we distribute a basic food for needed families, and also the Delia beach, few kilometers far from the terminal. What we have also planned for this year, and this is something new, which is women, we call it Women in Action, is to have our women employees of EPM terminals going to the women around where the terminal is, and try to help them, give them some support in communication skills on how they should talk, how they can be effective in the community. This is also, without to forget what we have done regarding the CO2 emission. A few years ago, 3 years exactly, we have changed the lights of our K crane, if you have an idea about the terminal, from a normal light to a white light, which reduced dramatically the CO2. We're still measuring the impact. This is why I didn't want to show you numbers, because we're still following this one. Also, next week, we have the opening of our terminal in Maasvlakte 2. And this is 100% automated terminals, where a really green terminal. This is the only terminal in the world that is green, supplied by the wind towers 100%. So with CO2 emission 0. So that's it. Thank you, and thanks again for inviting me.
Nous passons à l'entreprise norvégienne, l'entreprise JOTUN, et j'appelle monsieur le directeur, monsieur Lars Julie, c'est ça? Merci, voilà. Donc c'est une entreprise qui est leader dans ce secteur d'activité. C'est le secteur des peintures, notamment dans la décoration, anti-corrosion, tout ce qui est marine, et on va avoir une plus brève présentation de l'activité de l'entreprise.
Bonjour, good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation, Your Excellencies, and thank you especially for letting JOTUN, or JOTUN as we say in Norway, have the chance to present itself. We are a chemical company, we are a paint company, so a paint company can never become green, even though we supply green paint. So that's a background for this presentation. I'll just take you quickly through some of the highlights. These are our core company values. What happened? Okay, loyalty, care, respect, and boldness. We are a family company. We come from a small town in Norway where everybody knows each other. The grandson of the founder is the mayor of the town. The third generation, his brother, is then the chairman. And we are living in the values of a family. And families take care of each other. So it's about sustainability, it's about all these family values, as you see here. That's the background. So, when JOTUN was established, our first place where we went was to Libya more than 50 years ago. And we had some brave Norwegians who went there, and they took with them these values. And the rest, as we say, is history. We are now spread everywhere. We even have a factory in Aden. And I spoke to one of our employees there yesterday. His brother was shot, his father was shot, but still survived. We might be the only company in Yemen that pays taxes as we speak. That says it a little bit. We decided to build a factory in Myanmar, now the 13th of March. So we are everywhere, and in not easy places. So, as I say, it's then a challenge to export what perhaps Norway, and any Scandinavian country for that matter, stands for to all these places. We Norwegians are few, and we are even fewer in JOTUN. with perhaps 30 people around the world out of 10,000. But we have been building this long term, and I'm proud to say that what we have exported is not just the paint and our technology, but also the corporate culture that again is founded in these 4 values. So we are in decorative paint, which is water-based, so that is pretty environmental friendly. We are changing pigments, we adhere to EU laws around the world. Marine coatings is a different ball game, includes solvents. But I'm very glad to say that, for instance, for Mærsk, that we now supply all their big container vessels with our new system that actually guarantees a lot when it comes to fuel consumption. And if it doesn't come through, we give the money back. So we are measuring this in one way as possible to minimize the environmental impact. Protective coatings, same story. We have done life cycle analysis from cradle to grave with Statoil, the Norwegian oil company, in the 90s. Not 100% environmental friendly, but if you look at life cycle costs over years, you minimize the impact. Powder coatings is our green alibi. No solvents, nothing. Powder is what you get on a refrigerator, for instance. That is powder coated, most of it. So make sure that you buy a refrigerator powder coated next time. There is a definition of corporate responsibility from the EU Commission, and you can see it here. In Jotun, that means that we are long-term, responsible business, no shortcuts. We are into organic growth. We establish companies from scratch. We don't buy an old factory where you never know what's in the ground. We build all that ourselves. But we have learned our lesson. We have done mistakes in the US, in Baltimore, nightmare, lawyers, pollution in the ground. In Sandefjord, our hometown, there's a big cleanup operation in the fjord there. And as you know, the mayor is shareholder, so we are in a squeeze there. But we take that responsibility, wherever that is, and that's the main thing. So we walk the talk, live the values, and try to be as good as possible to find a balance. But we have to also to make money in order to be able to invest in this and to be long-term. And last year was a record year, and it has been an impressive growth. So we think, or we believe, that we have a sustainable model. You don't get profit if you don't create values for all the stakeholders. So I think this should indicate that we are at the right track. So we believe that we always have been responsible, but we can always be better. And I think that characterizes Scandinavian thinking that okay, we're doing well, but can we do better? We always challenge ourselves to do better. So here are some examples from around the world. The one down on the right side is from the camel market in Tripoli in the 60s. So that's pretty old. But we had canteen, we had medical, we had buses, was mentioned earlier today, for our workers in Libya in the 60s. Just as one example. So CR to us makes good business sense, because what reflects our ambassadors, meaning our employees, our customers. We have 2,000 shops around, just in the region from Casablanca to India, 2,000 shops with about 3 employees each. Then we have 6,000. We have a lot of customers, painters, and contractors involved. So perhaps 20,000 people minimum every day are in contact with Jotun and our products. When it comes to the people, as I said, we have the chemical business environment. We don't have a factory in Morocco, but in 36 different other countries. So HSE training, we have academies, awareness is very important. If the awareness is not there, you can have all certification bodies, whatever training, whatever, it doesn't help. And we penalize people. We fire people if they don't adhere to, let's say, other safety regulations over time. Anti-corruption is important when it comes to customers and suppliers. We are in countries, as I say, where they have business principles that are somewhat vague and opaque compared to what we are used to in many other countries. That's a challenge, but we are long-term. I can give you examples. In Pakistan, we have been waiting for electricity connection for 2 years, but we wait. We know there is a shortcut, but we wait. In Libya, where we started building a factory now, investing $20 million, we waited 3 years before we got the permission. So we wait. So, with all this said, we are paying taxes in Yemen, wherever. We are supporting basically Red Cross from Syria to countries where we are operating primarily. The shareholders are of course worried when it comes to a lot of countries where we operate, because one small thing can explode into a big matter in Norway, for instance. And it just shows that we have the trust when we now are going to build a factory in Myanmar, for instance. Environment I already touched upon. High quality solutions that last a long time, that minimize the impact per year, makes environmental and economical sense. So I think I covered all this. We are into a lot of the red countries. We, of course, follow international law and Norwegian law when it comes to all this. We have a lot of trainings and business principles and policies that we have. The training is there, but if the attitude, the thinking is not there, it doesn't help. So that's why we go to great pain to recruit the right people. And we want people to be open if they have a dilemma. HSC, chemicals, is a very comprehensive area. We had 7 fires last year worldwide. The board was not happy, so our CEO had to visit all these factories himself to walk the talk and show that it's not just making a PowerPoint presentation, but to be there and have safety walks with the local staff. So we have a lot of different programs, but as I said, we had 7 fires last year, and that is 7 too much. So we still have some work to be done. Supplier audits, especially in China, has been very focused. We want to make sure that we are supported by ethical sound companies. Then we have the last thing that I would like to share with you, green steps. We are not there yet, but steps in the right direction about reducing VOC, etc. So I will just show you this film as a closure to my short presentation that highlights some of this.
People have always looked to Jotun for protection. From homes to monuments, from ships to heavy equipment, from contemporary furniture to modern appliances, Jotun protects property. But what about preserving the great big world we all share? As we take steps to better protect your property, we're also moving closer towards protecting the environment. We call this initiative Jotun Green Steps, steps that contribute to a more colourful world. Through these 5 green steps, Jotun continues to innovate protection. Step 1. Reducing VOC emissions. Step 2. Reducing hazardous materials. Step 3. Reducing energy consumption. Step 4. Reducing the carbon footprint. Step 5. Reducing waste. Jotun Green Steps is our initiative for better protecting the environment. It is a focus in our innovation process. It boosts operational responsibility, and most importantly, it is how Jotun continues to protect property for a more colourful world.
Thank you for the attention. Thank you.
Merci donc pour cette présentation qui attaquait les domaines d'action de la RSE qui sont très larges, mais effectivement elle a délayé tous ces domaines d'action en passant par la sécurité, l'environnement, les relations clients-fournisseurs. Donc pour le moment je crois qu'il y a une pause. Nous invitons donc l'assistance à une pause café d'une demi-heure. Merci.
We have been doing that for many, many years, and if we should look at Danfoss as a company, we started in 1933, and we have always had a good image for being very concerned about the environment, not just the environment on the places where we are producing the different components, but also the components that we are designing and manufacturing. They are installed in different types of systems, and very often with the outcome that the system is getting more energy efficient. So basically what is written up here, do more for less, it is a very important saying going forward, because we all want the world to grow, but at the same time we want to consume less energy, simply because less energy consumption is having the positive impact on the environment. So do more for less is a very important strategic direction to have. So I will first talk a little bit what we have been doing inside Danfoss, seen from a CSR point of view. Because there's a lot of regulations to follow. I will not deep dive into the individual regulations, but after that I would like to talk more about how we can support the different systems out in the market to be more energy efficient, again with the purpose to save energy. So the journey shown up here, it started in 1991, at least the timeline up here started in 91. But of course before that, basically I would say the the awareness of energy savings, it started in '74 when we had the first global energy crisis. And that was a wake-up call in many countries, and I think basically it has been a positive wake-up call because that has shaken the world. So we got started on looking at how can we save energy, and that made many producers all over the world to focus on products and systems which are more energy efficient. But the timeline you are having up here, it is basically about how we should behave when we are manufacturing, and this is not just about the production equipment itself, it is also about how we are treating the people that we are having in our production, the people that we are working together with as suppliers. And as I said in the beginning, we have always been seen as a very environmental focused company. And we believe that has brought big benefits to the image of Danfoss. The clear target for Danfoss is basically to stay in front of the wave. And when I talk about the wave, then it is of course the different regulations which are implemented today with different timelines. We should be in front of that timeline simply with the purpose to keep a good image about being an environmental friendly producer. So what we are doing now is we are staying in front of the wave, but simply with the purpose also that we believe it is going to be a benefit for our company and by that for our business in the future. So as I said, it is both about how we are manufacturing, but it is also about how we are treating our people. And ethics is a very important part for Danfoss, and both for ethics and for corruptions, we are having learnings, trainings of the complete organization, and especially when we talk about corruption, we are focusing a lot on our sales organizations and also on our purchase organizations, because that is where we are having the biggest risks. Then we are focusing on the energy efficiency, and it is again inside Danfoss, and as you can see we have set up some rather strict targets going forward. And one of the more difficult targets is the one with the 25% more renewables until 2025, because we are manufacturing in many places of the world, and we are of course dependent on the power supply that we can get on all these local locations. But anyhow, the target is set, and for sure we are going to fulfill it. And as an example, I can tell you we have already built up a solar panel park near to the headquarters in Denmark, clearly with the purpose to fulfill the target that we are having up here. Then we are having also some demands coming from the outside on the material that we are using. And there is one thing which is very important looking at the materials. It is how are the products designed. And that is what is up here called the eco-design. Because it's very important that the day we make the products on the drawing board or in the computer, that we take into consideration what is going to be the impact of this product during the lifetime of the product, seen from an environmental point of view. If we take that into consideration in the design phase, it makes everything much easier going forward. And now I would like to switch a little bit to the part or the impact coming from the products we are manufacturing. And one key word here, it is of course innovation. It is very important to invest a lot of money in the products, because innovative products, they are the ones who are having the biggest impact when they are installed in the systems. So we're spending a lot of money on this. And we are focusing a lot, of course, on getting our patents declared also. So, if you look at one of the main subjects where we are doing business, it is in the infrastructure. Of course, we can see that the population is growing, people are moving into the cities, and this is clearly generating demand for more energy consumption. And the more efficient, again, we can make these systems, the more or the less energy demand are we going to have, and by that, the less environmental impact. We have an example here, the second biggest building in the world being built just right now. And instead of old technologies, there are opportunities to utilize new opportunities, basically products which is taking care of the exact demand into the system at each point of time. By doing that, we are having a much better, of course, control, comfort in the offices, but also a much lesser energy consumption. Then we are having the food side, and that is probably one of the biggest problems in the world. We are having a lot of countries, a lot of growing countries, say countries like India, China, and big parts of Africa. And to a large extent, the food produced by the farmer is going into waste, simply because there is a missing cold chain in the system from the farmer to the consumer. And when you're looking into the statistics, then it is very often, depending on the country, in the level of 30 to 40% of the food which is manufactured, which is going to waste. So there is a huge demand to develop the cold chain. And of course we are focusing on that. We are not making big cold storages, and we are not making showcases for supermarkets and things like that. But the products behind the scene for all these applications, that is where we are active. And that is where it is very important to develop the products in a way so they can, again, optimize the energy consumption. And there are more good examples. We are having an example here from Norway, from a supermarket chain which is really focusing on environmental friendly, not just systems, but the supermarket complete. And you can see up there are opportunities, of course, to save energy. But what is even more important when we are looking into cooling and air conditioning systems, it is what is used of refrigerant. Refrigerant is the stuff inside the cooling system generating, together with all the components, generating the cooling effect. But these refrigerants are very environmental bad. And that's the reason why we have a huge demand to develop systems, and by that products for systems which can use environmental friendly refrigerants. And that's basically natural refrigerants. And there are refrigerants like propane, there are refrigerants like CO2 which has been used in the system up here. There are ammonia systems for big cold storages. So there are opportunities, but still the products to utilize these opportunities, it is in a startup phase. And we need, of course, to focus on that, to make it energy efficient, but also to reduce the consumption of refrigerants. Energy, and of course, as we talked about, people are moving into the cities and we are getting more people, so of course the energy demand is increasing. We are having examples, as for example here in Moscow, where we are having a big refrigeration system installed. Again, we are not making the refrigeration system, but we are the product and applications people with the expertise behind. Again, reduction on 30% annually. The last example I have brought here is what I think is a very interesting example. And it is in a city in China. For China is a small city, around about 5 million people. Anshan, up in northeast China. They were basically having problems, environmental problems, coming from two sources. One was the production of district heating, because it's up north, so it's a cold area. So they were produced centrally district heating and via pipe system sent around in the city. And of course they were using coal, and coal, when it is burning, it is generating some nasty stuff getting up through the chimney. That was one problem. The other problem is that Anshan is basically based on a big steelwork up there. Again, what is used there? Coal burned off and generating a lot of pollution. And when the steel is made, as I said, it is via heat, and this heat is basically just left up into the sky. So the project here, the Bird View project, was to look at the city and see what could be done here. And it was clear, if we could take the heat from the chimneys in the steel production and utilize that into the district heating system, then basically we were going to save a lot of coal, and by that we will save a lot of bad environmental impact. So that was the bird view, and that is basically what has been implemented. Then you can say that, yeah, but in this part of the world it is a lot of heating systems. Yeah, but anyhow, energy is energy, and it doesn't matter if you have heating transferred into a district heating system or you're having heating, because heating is energy. You can always transfer that also into a chilled water system. So there's a lot of good opportunities in the world where we really can make big jumps in energy savings. And then a short notice on Danfoss. As said, we are from 1933, a family-owned company, 24,000 people, and manufacturing in a lot of places on the world. And out of the 24,000 people, we are around about 7,000 in Denmark, where we are having the headquarters. We have one slogan, one tagline, and it is engineering tomorrow, because we are clearly of the impression that innovation is driving the good products, which is going to help us improving the environmental going forward. Thank you.
Merci, et comme il a commencé son intervention par dire c'est faire plus avec moi, et donc ça c'est vraiment le mot final de votre intervention. Donc nous recevons une dame, et ben, il en était temps, hein. C'est Madame Andersen, elle est conseillère principale. Et donc c'est l'entreprise Innovation Norway. C'est un organisme public qui fournit des services de finance et de conseil, notamment en Norvège, mais également à l'étranger. Et donc nous donnons la parole à Madame Andersen.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me here. This is actually my first trip to Morocco. It's also my first trip then to Casablanca. It's great. I hope to come back soon. I really looked forward to hearing about both the Moroccan, the Norwegian and the Danish business experience. And I have been impressed. Thank you for sharing your insights. My name is Trude Andersen and I work for Innovation Norway. Innovation Norway is a government agency or a publicly owned company. Our mission is to enable Norwegian business to grow to innovate, and to realize business opportunities abroad. We do this by providing grants, we give loans, and we offer competence building programs. We also offer consultancy from one of our offices in Norway, or in cooperation with the Norwegian Foreign Service abroad. In my work, I promote CSR as a competitive advantage. Most of the firms that we meet are in compliance with the law, and they exhibit a good business practice. But they do not necessarily catch the business benefits of their efforts. A few of the firms we meet, although an increasing number, are more active, engaging in activities both beneficial to the firm as well as beneficial to the stakeholders in society as well as the environment. And some even take it to the level of the firms we've heard about today, like BAMA, making it a part of their strategic position. And my favorites, of course, innovate products, services, or business processes, finding new solutions to the social and environmental challenges of our time. We have heard about such innovations here today as well. I really like turning waste into business opportunities, and in my presentation I will look at how firms approach CSR in these different ways. Different means for different ends. I will also outline my process for developing a professional CSR program. I show 3 interconnected steps, and I will use experience both from small companies as well as multinational companies. When we develop a CSR program with our clients in Innovation Norway, we do so in 3 steps. These 3 steps are not necessarily consecutive. They overlap, they impact each other, and the 3 steps must be repeated for a perpetual process of improvement. The first step is to map the impact of the operations of the firm. How do operations positively and adversely affect environment and relevant stakeholders in society? The second step is to map the expectations of the stakeholders. Who are your relevant stakeholders? Who can influence your firm? And who is influenced by your firm? My third step is to determine the purpose of a professional CSR program. That's what forms the basis for developing an appropriate ambition and a suitable approach. This way, our clients embark upon a sustainable business practice, contributing to sustainable business development. First, about impact. There are many ways to build a good understanding of the impact of the firm's operations. The most famous way is John Pelkington and his concept of the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. He was, of course, inspired by our own Gro Harlem Brundtland and the 1987 report, Our Common Future. This report introduced us to the ambitions and necessity of sustainable development. The triple bottom line is useful because it gives an analytical framework for the business, and because it gives a framework for sustainability reporting, like we find in GRI, Global Reporting Initiative. And last, it is useful because it's recognized in the business community worldwide. The second way of building a good understanding of the firm's impact is the concept of decoupling. In this approach, we explore